Welcome back. Today, we're gonna continue on the shop. We're gonna start framing, electrical, and lighting. Off camera, I framed up this wall behind me. I'm gonna do the framing very simple in this shop. I'm doing 24-inch on center, and I'm not doing a king stud or a jack stud on the side because I already have the structural framing of the shop itself. I'm basically doing enough framing to hold plugs, insulation, and whatever siding I choose to put on the sides. I also framed up the little room there behind you. That room is pretty small. It's challenging. I had a bunch of angles and it's kind of hard to place the camera and get good angles and work in there. So that's done. Don't have to worry about that. As far as lighting goes, you will probably notice a theme with me. I'm pretty cheap. I like to find really good deals. I like to find things really cheap. With that being said, I got these LED UFO lights for a heck of a deal. I'm only gonna put these in the peak of my shop. The peak of the shop is about 14 feet, so I think they'll work really well. They were so cheap for me that even if they don't work and I have to change them up later, so be it. But for now, they're gonna work great. The only downfall to installing these in the peak is I only have a short ladder. And like I said, that's 14 feet. So we're gonna get a little crazy. Take it easy on me on the comments. It's not that dangerous. It'll look more dangerous than it is. We gotta do what we gotta do to get things done. So let's get started with lighting. The only way to get my height is to put the ladder on top of this workbench. I built this workbench with lockable casters on it, so I can move it around the shop. It's gonna work perfect for this. Probably more sturdy than a lot of the work I did on the siding of this shop. So with that being said, let's go do the sketchy thing. It's probably a bit difficult to see on camera, but I wanted to make that mark there so that I know where to mount my 2x4 so that my sheeting or siding or whatever I choose to put on the ceiling here comes right up to that 2x4 in the peak. All right, now that I got the first hanger hung, I just unlock my casters and wheel my ladder around to the next spot. It would really help if my shop was a lot cleaner. In the middle of a project like this, it's kind of hard to keep it clean. All right, I'm gonna cut a 2x4 real quick. I'm gonna make sure this first one's gonna work before I do the other two bays. You know how some 2x4s are wet and heavy, some 2x4s are dry and light? Of course I pick a wet and heavy one to do this job. Thankfully it's not too hard though. All right, cool, that's gonna work. I won't be able to show this on camera, but there's almost no way for me to attach the 2x4 to the hanger because of these 2x6s in the way. So I think what I'm gonna do is grab a self-tapping screw and run it through the bottom of the hanger into the 2x4. This really doesn't need to be structural, it just needs to not move, I guess. So let's do that, then we'll move on to the other two. So I think now that I have that 2x4 up there, before I move my little workstation, I'm gonna mark out and install my boxes for the lights. So I just consulted a very good friend of mine who does lighting and electrical for a living, the same one that helped me with the panel and all the other electrical. And we came up with putting 2 of these lights per bay in the peak. It might be overkill, but I have them. I got them so cheap that why not install them? I don't really want to put them over on the sides here because I think they'll be too blinding and too bright for me. And I'll do different lighting on the side over here. So I'm gonna try doing 2 per bay, see how it goes. All right, so I have everything marked where to put these boxes. And when I bought these, I had different ideas on how I was gonna do all this lighting. So these are not the right style boxes, but they'll work just fine. So let's get these installed. All right, I got all 3 of the 2x4s hung in the middle of the peak. I got the boxes put up except for 1 box. When I bought the boxes that I did, I wasn't expecting to use any in that room, but I used 2 in the little room over there. So I'm 1 short. Luckily for me, I have 2 lights that are gonna be taken out anyways, so I'm gonna steal 1 of those boxes, I'll put it at the end and I'll be done. I'll start running wire. Taking that off was a pain in the butt, but now we can get the last one installed. Success. All right, well, I'm glad that task is over. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but I'm afraid the next one's not gonna be much better. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually start working backwards. I'm gonna pull wire from this last box and I'll work my way that way. As I'm doing it, I'll add the mogul bases and get everything ready, maybe even install the lights. That way I just work my way down. Last step is the panel, flip on that breaker, we're done, got light. Hopefully it works that way and it goes that easy. So let's get started on this box here. All right, I got those 2 wired up. Now I have to go through this rafter somehow. I got this long old bit. I should be able to get it right through this rafter and onto that other side. Whew. I'm sure glad I only have to do that twice because was a pain in the butt. Oh well, we're done with that. Now I can fish the wire through and keep on trucking. Whew, that's really taxing on the shoulders. 3 down, 3 to go. All right, I know the lighting's pretty bad right now, but that's what we're working on. So I just finished wiring up my last box up there for the last light. Now I'm gonna run wire down the wall to the light switch here and over to the panel. Working up there has been kind of fun, I guess. It's been a royal pain in the butt on the shoulders, but it's good. It's good practice for me. It's kind of fun. I'm not familiar with electrical, like I've said, but I kind of enjoy it. It's kind of fun in a weird way. So either way, I'm gonna get to wiring up that to the switch. Let's go. Hammer, I need a hammer. If my shop wasn't such a mess, I'd find a hammer. Some crazy electrical in here before. So all the wiring right here that feeds the light switch and most of the lights is all a cut extension cord. I mean, I guess it works. It's not how we're gonna do it, but I guess it works. You're home. I'm gonna be cheap. I'm gonna reuse the staples that are already there. I'm gonna try to fish it through the staples that are existing. All right, well, I got really lucky and my wife's gonna head to the hardware store for me and get those last 2 mogul bases that I need. So in the meantime, I wired up the switch and the panel. She should be here any minute. So I'm gonna throw these up real quick. As soon as she gets here, I can wire those up and this project will be done. I'm pretty excited. It'll be really nice to have good lighting in here. All right, she made it back. She got me the last 2 mogul bases that I need. Now I'm gonna wheel my ladder over. I'm gonna get these 2 done. We'll get some light in here. So unfortunately, I don't have enough of the adapters for the E39, E40 mogul base to, I think it's an E27 or something mogul base. But I do have 2 of these lights. So I'll use these in the meantime. I have the adapters ordered. They should be here tomorrow. Then I'll finish that up. But these will work just fine for now. Okay, I just switched the main breaker at the house to power up the shop. Now I'm gonna go switch the breaker for the lights. Then I'm gonna go try the light switch. I've not done this yet, so I'm hoping this is amazing. Nothing. Wrong one. Round 2. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good lighting. We have 2 problems though. These don't work, which I think I know what the issue is, and the last one's not working. That I don't know what the issue is, but that's pretty good light. So the center part of the shop, the lighting is pretty good. We will definitely need a lot more lighting on the sides, but to get me started to do my wiring and get some projects going, there's plenty of light. All right, let's fix these 2 real quick, and I think I know what's up. All right, cool. Just adding those 2 made a massive difference. I actually like those lights better than I do these big, fancy, expensive UFO lights. I might in the future be changing out to those, but again, these were so cheap that kind of, why not? Why not go with these? I think where we'll make a huge difference is getting rid of these 2x4s here because there's a wicked shadow right here, but I'm very happy with this so far. I'm gonna work on that one and see what's going on with that. All right, well, that last one was just a loose wire that came undone on the second to last light bulb. So I was able to wire that up. Now we got them all going. I gotta say, the lighting in here is significantly better than it was, but it's not great. I kind of knew that. I knew there'd be dead spots on either side of the shop. And I think what I'll do is run big, long 8-footers because most of my work will be on the sides of the shops because that's where the tools will be. So that ends today. We'll come back tomorrow, hopefully start framing, start running more wire. We'll see you then. All right, well, now that we can see, it's time to start the framing. So off camera, I went ahead and cut my top plate and my bottom plate. I cut my studs and I put some cleats up there to put my top plate on to make it easier for myself. So let's get started. So unfortunately up here, I have a bolt that attaches these 2 rafters to this post and it's right at the corner of this 2x4. I think I'll be able to just trim off the corner on both ends and it'll just slide right into place. So the worst part about doing this project now with everything in the shop is having to work around everything in the shop. So my wife just came in to help me move all of this off this wall so that we can continue on this wall. Hopefully, after this wall, everything else will be a little bit easier. But we're gonna make a mess to then later have to clean up the same mess. There we go. All right, that was fun. All right, I'm gonna do this wall a little bit different. We have plans in the future of possibly adding a room on this side of the shop. So when I frame this wall, I'm gonna frame for a door. All right, so here I'm trying to figure out the layout of this door. I think what I wanna do is put the door center to this bay. I thought about doing off center and putting it to that corner, but if I put the door over, then I can store something in the corner. So I think I'm gonna put the door center, we'll go from there. Now I'm gonna lay out my markings for my studs. So with this, I decided to do a 38-inch door opening, which is really a 36-inch door. That way, if I have a big dust collection system or the big air compressor or anything, it's a big wide door that I can make sure to get everything inside of. I'm also gonna frame this one a little different. I'm gonna frame it outside in the driveway and then try to carry it in and install. Should just be a little bit faster, a little bit easier for me. Boom. Woohoo! All right, well that wall went great. Super fast, super smooth, easy. This wall, I have a feeling it's not gonna be so easy. I have to work around the window and the spacing between this 6x6 and the 2x4s, it doesn't work out. So I think some of my 2x4s will have to go flat faced around here. I think it'll work. It's not ideal, but it's just for insulation and getting some siding up here. So it'll work. All right, well, I'm gonna start measuring out and going around this 2x6 here with my top plate and bottom plate. Fun, fun. Let's get to it. Bit much on my cut. That's dangerous. It's just trying to kill me. Off camera, I got the peak finished, and I also got over the doors framed up. So all we have left is to frame this wall right here and this wall right here. I also have the peak, but I'm gonna wait to do that peak until we get all this moved out. You can't see on camera, but there's a bunch of junk right here. Once we get that wall finished, we can move stuff over there. Then I'll be able to finish that peak. But until then, let's start on these two walls. Unfortunately, with these two walls, there's a bunch of stuff I have to move. So I'm gonna get all that moved first, and then we'll start framing. I have nowhere to put any of it. So this last wall is quite a bit different. I'm gonna have to overhang the top piece from the bottom plate. That'll go over the 6x6 post that's holding the door. Then I have to come over 1.5 inches here because there's 2x6, 2x12s, I'm not sure what they are, that are like sandwiching the 6x6 post on the opposite side of the door. So I have to frame and work around that and try to make it all connect. I think it'll work. I hope it'll work. We will soon find out. It'll all make a lot more sense when I start to install it in there. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. We have this 2x12, that is the rafter for the addition. This sticks out 1.5 inches from the main 6x6 there. So I had to cut 1.5 inches over to get that to work. Then we had this post here that I had to extend further than the bottom plate. So we got everything lined up except I got a bolt in the way over there. And then I'm just gonna take a Sawzall and kind of work around that bolt. Sometimes you gotta get a little creative when you work by yourself. Sweet. All right, and with that, that completes the framing of the walls. The only thing I have left to frame is the peak over there. And like I said earlier, I got too much stuff over there right now to worry about that. But at least I can continue on the rest of the shop and I can start moving forward and cleaning this place up. It's a total disaster right now. If you watch the electrical video, you might remember me saying that I wanted to get the plasma table up and running so that I could make some brackets for this framing. So the whole idea behind that was to tie the 2x4 stud to the 2x6 purlin behind it. That way it makes the wall a bit stronger, it doesn't shake. I'm gonna change that up a little bit. As you can see, the plasma table behind me is now the store all because I had to take everything off the walls. So I don't really wanna deal with that. So what I'm gonna do is cut these 2x4s. I have a bunch of extra pieces from the framing job. I'm gonna cut these to 5.5, 5.25 inches. And I'm gonna put these onto the 2x4, onto the 2x6, and just nail them all together. It's kind of a hack way of doing it, I know, but it is what it is. It'll be fast, cheap, easy. So I already did a couple over here just to see if it would work. Let me show you that. All right, so here's those pieces I'm talking about. I attached the 2x4 to the stud here, and then I toe nailed it into the 2x6 here. It makes everything super strong. I'm gonna go cut a bunch of these, and I'll do this real fast, and I'll start electrical. All right, now that I got all those installed, I can start electrical. So I'm gonna start by placing all the boxes all the way around, and then I will just start running wire. But I'm gonna start on the easy side here, just so that I can get the boxes in, get the wires in, and I can move some of this stuff that's in my way to this wall. Unfortunately, this project has been more about moving crap than it has been about getting anything done, but that's all right. Once it's done, it'll be done. I'm looking forward to it being done. All right, for this blank section in the back wall here, I'm gonna add quite a few plugs. I foresee putting a bunch of tools back here, and I never wanna unplug and plug in tools. I don't wanna deal with extension cords. So I want a bunch of plugs back here, and the same will go along that wall, but we'll get to that later. I'm gonna for sure do 3 boxes here. Now I'm gonna work on this door wall and keep working around. All right, I think I'm gonna start wiring these while there's nothing in the way here. Then I can move stuff and continue wiring on this side. All right, it's a new day. And as you can see outside, it's kind of cold and kind of foggy. These are some of my favorite days, but days like this are a perfect reminder of why I'm going through so much work of fully insulating this shop. So days like this, or better yet, snowy days, rainy days, I could be in here, I could be comfortable, and I could be working. All right, so I'm gonna continue on electrical. Hopefully I can get the electrical done today, and we can start insulating. So like I talked about earlier, behind me here, we have plans of adding a room. So I have this extra wire here that was the original power coming to the shop. It's plenty big enough to run 220 from my air compressor to the room. So for now, I'm just gonna run it up and overhead, and I'm gonna coil it up above the door. So if we do decide to do that room, the electrical will already be there and ready to go. Well, that was a total pain in the butt. Unfortunately, this is not a new roll. So it already had its twists and everything in it. So I had to pull it out of the shop to get it all straight and then pull it through. What I should have done was set it in the middle of the shop and pull this way and then do overhead. Live and learn. All right, now I'm gonna staple it to these trusses here, and then I'll be able to drop it above that door. All right, with that done, that's all I can do for today with electrical. I need to get about 50 more feet of some Romex wire to run up and over that rafter there to come down to the plugs on this side. I also need to finish out from this box over. So like I said, about 50 more feet and this project's finished. So let me explain what I did a little bit here. So I have the plugs on the rafters. Those will be for pull down extension cords. I have one on this rafter, one on that rafter on that side. And then each box on that side, I have 2 circuits going down. So it'll be every other box will be on the same circuit. I figured that way if I had the miter saw going and I had maybe a shop vac or a sander or my son was doing something, we can make sure everything's on a separate circuit. That way we have 0 issues at all. There's one more thing in here I need to do, and that's add lighting on this side and that side of the shop. I think for those, I'm gonna put those on their own individual switches, all on the same circuit, but just simple ran. I'll do plugs over by the doors with switches on them. That way I can just hook up some 8-foot shop lights or something. Most of my lighting will come from the lights in the center, which so far has been great. I have really no complaints about those lights other than maybe some dark spots on the sides. But with all that being said, I think this video is gonna end here. I'll button everything up off video. And next video, we're gonna go into insulation and putting up the siding. I would call it drywall, but I don't think we're doing drywall. So for now, I'm just gonna call it siding. So please stick around, like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.